Okay. Okay, let's get started. So, any question from last time? And yeah, this week we'll be going over this quantum Fourier transform idea. So last time we introduced this idea of discrete Fourier transform and quantum Fourier transform. So discrete Fourier transform, for now I think it as a way to transform a vector to another vector, and it's a linear transformation. So basically, it's a matrix, and it's a matrix with the matrix element being like this. So the kjth element is 1 over square root n equal to pi I jk over n. And here are some examples. And you can easily check that they are unitary matrices, and then you can also calculate its inverse pretty easily. The inverse is you just get is just its complex conjugate, so you get the extra minus sign on this exponential. And discrete Fourier transform is very useful. It can be used to do all kind of signal processing. Like in your radio, you can use Fourier transform to select out some band and some data, etc., etc. And yeah, so that's what you will study if you take the signal and the process, signal and the system course. But for now, for us, Fourier transform is these complex unitary matrices. And they are complex unitary matrix, so they can be seen as a quantum gate. And that's quantum Fourier transform. So you want to apply a quantum gate whose matrix elements are just discrete Fourier transform matrix elements. So once again, it's these elements. And today we are going to show a very efficient construction of this quantum Fourier transform unitary, and we are going to show one with application, which is phase summation. Okay. So any question on Fourier transform? If not, then let's go over our efficient construction of quantum Fourier transform. So as we say, quantum Fourier transform is this matrix, and first thing we do is we will focus on its action on the computational basis states. So J is a computational basis. So we consider what quantum Fourier transform do when you apply it onto this computational basis state. And if you think this Fn is n by n matrix, and you apply a computational basis on it, you basically pick out the Jth column. And you see that and because of the linearity and stuff, and so if you can make sure your circuit action on every computational basis is correct, then you are doing the correct unitary. Okay, so we just need to make sure our unitary is doing this on every computational basis stage. And anyway, we write it down, and you look at this formula and realize you will apply. If it's just one J here, then the resulting state you get is this. And if you write it in the matrix and vector form, it means you apply Fourier transform on this basis state. Okay, it's hard to see. Okay, so this J's computational basis state, basically only a 1 on the J's coordinate. And what you get is this state, which is sum over all computational basis once again. So computational basis now come from 0 to n minus 1. And all of them is the amplitude 1 over square root n. So all of them 1 over square root n, so just say it's outside. And also a phase of e to the 2 pi I jk over n. And if we define omega as e to the 2 pi I over n, then this is going to be 1 and omega to a j, omega to a 2j, all the way to omega to a 2 minus 1, minus 1j. Okay. And so first we do a little review of turning just change of expression. So we will change back and forth of the when we say those. Sorry. We will have two kinds of expression for the number, those number j and k. Those are numbers from 0 to n minus 1, right? And we want to write them in binary. And as you are most of you should be computer science major, and you should be very familiar with this. So you can write a decimal number in binary representation. So those j1 to jn are a whole bunch of 0 and 1. Okay, and it's like this. So 110 means 6. And it's actually the other way around. So this 110 is this j1, j2, j3, and this 6 is this j. Okay. And also then we have less obvious notation. We also write fractions in binary. So we'll have 0.j1, j2, jn just means j1 over 2, j2 over 4, in the decimal representation. So at 0.11 equals 1 over 2 plus 1 over 4 equals 3 over 4. Okay. So yeah, so we'll change it back and forth between binary and decimal on this j and k, and that's because we are going to show this nice relationship where when we express the input computation basis state in this QP structure, so j1 to jn, then the output state also has this nice QP structure. You can see this is a product state. So the first QP is in this equal way superposition of 0, 1, and the second QP is also in 0 plus 1, and this QP is also in 0 plus 1, just of the one has some interesting phase related to those j1 to jn. Okay, and this is what we are going to show. So we restrict to computation basis. Once again, this is what we do. We restrict the input to computation basis because they are complete basis. So, and then we further decompose this j into like a bit by bit. So this computation basis state, we think about what each bit do, and we find out that the output state can be written in this very clean structure product state which is a phase that depends on those j1 to jn. Okay, so let's prove this is true. And we start with what we had before. So also once again we are restricting big N to 2n because it makes things much easier. As you see, yeah, because we big N to 2n, so every j can just be written as this bit string. Okay, anyway, let's get back to work. So as we said before, so j should be this square root n, and now we are just using big N, just writing big N into 2n. So this is a square root n, then summation k from 0 to n minus 1, big N minus 1, and then e to a 2 pi jk over 2 to nk. Okay, so nothing happened here yet. And the first thing we do is we want to write this k in binary. Okay? So k in binary, and well, k is a n-bit string. K is 2 to n, and so in binary it's a small n-bit string, so some k1 to kn. Okay? And so the summation k from 0 to 2 to n minus 1 is just summation k1 from k1 0 to 1, k2 0 to 1, all the way to k small n 0 to 1. Okay? So nothing really happened here. And yeah, and here we also write this k here in binary. Okay? And well, in binary then it should be like this, right? Okay, so we do a little extra. So k in binary, then you should have like k1 times 2 to the n minus 1 plus k2 times 2 to the minus 2 plus plus kn. But we are also combining this dividing by 2 to the n. and then that turns you into k1 times 2 to the minus 1 plus k2 times 2 to the minus 2 plus da da da, right? And that's the summation here. It's just writing k in binary, then shift everything by n bit because you are divided by 2 to the n. Okay? So nothing really happened here. And then we break this thing up because this is sum on the exponent. You can just replace it with products, right? So the sum in exponent, we break it up into this product of factors, and but we further break this up into tensor products. Right, so this k1, k2 to k2n is really k1 so first cubic k1 tensor first second cubic k2 tensor that's cubic kn. And when you break this factor up, you see that each factor only depends on its ko, right? So you can also just assign each ko to its ko, right? You can see it together, then you see then each of these terms only depends on ko. Okay, so we are separating all the different k1, k2 to kn, separating all the ko, and they are multiplied. They have this product structure here. Okay. Question? Yeah, it's ko here. So it's like you have e to some function of k1 plus function of k2 plus da da, and you have like this k1 tensor k2 tensor da da da, and this is just equal to e to the function of k1 tensor e to the function of k2 tensor da da da, right? So we are really doing nothing. We just because when you have tensor product, you can have the multiplying factor multiplying any of the state, and this tensor product is product, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is only the thing we are doing. Breaking up this summation onto exponent into a product. How do you call it? Product of series. Anyway, a whole bunch of things multiplying together, and then we assign each factor to each of the state. Okay, so this is what we are doing here, and then we see that. So the parentheses, each parenthesis, the ko, like, so now every ko is separated, right? So every only thing depends on k1 is this first parenthesis, and the only thing depends on k2 is the second parenthesis, etc. So now we can move this summation inside this parenthesis, right? Because for k1 only when L equal to 1 depends on k1, and for k2 only this thing depends on k2. Okay, so we can move the summation inside this product, this insert product in the tensor product, and then we are basically done. Now next step is we write down this 0 and 1 explicitly. When we write down this 0 and 1 explicitly, then obviously there is a ko equal to 0, then you have a 0 case here. And when ko equal to 0, then obviously this whole factor is 0, so you don't have a factor here. And when ko equal to 1, then you have this 2 pi I j, and 1 is just 1, and so you have a 2 pi I j times 2 to the minus L. Okay. And this is basically the thing we have up here, and we just need to write it down. So what's this j times 2 to the minus L? Well, now remember j equal to this J1, J2 to Jn. Okay? And now we are dividing J with different factor of 2 to L, like different powers of 2, right? So if we divide J by 1, 2, then it will be J1, J2, dot, 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 to Jn minus 1, and dot Jn, and if we divide with L equal to 2, then you have this all the way to like Jn minus 2, and dot Jn minus 1 Jn, right? So you are just shifting this right, like 1 digit by 1 digit. Okay. But then now you remember you are having this multiplying to 2 pi, and 2 pi times some, so 2 pi times any integer m is just 1. So all those prefactors actually doesn't matter. So the only thing that left over is this Jn, this dot Jn or dot Jn minus 1 Jn, right? Only those non-integer part is doing anything on this exponent, because they are multiplying 2 pi, and you know 2 pi times the integer equal to 1. Okay? And so we get exactly what we have here, what we claim we have. So the first one, when L equal to 1, then you have J divided by 2 equal to this thing, and we say this dot Jn is only mattering factor, so you have 0 dot Jn here. And for the then for L equal to 2, then you have this 0 dot Jn minus 1 Jn. Then you get one more digit for every increment of L, and until all the way you have L equal to n, then you have everything here. You have this 0 dot J1, J2, dot, 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 to Jn. Okay? And then we claim that this, okay, so we should, is like end of proof. So I guess any question for this derivation? So we prove that if your input to your quantum Fourier transform is a product state, then output is also a product state with this very nice structure. Once again, this is 1 over 2 to the n minus 2, and then every bit is like 0 plus 1, but you have this e to the 2 pi 0 dot Jn, e to the 2 pi 0 dot Jn minus 1 Jn, and e to the 2 pi, it should be 0 dot Jn minus 1, Jn minus 2, Jn minus 1 Jn, and you get one more bit of this J sequence each step, and in the end you have e to the 2 pi 0 dot J1, J2 dot Jn. And once you have this structure, then we'll show that you can do this quantum Fourier transform with this kind of circuit, where we define a very small rotation. So we define this rotation in z-axis rk, that is 1 and e to the 2 pi divided by 2 to the k. And then on first qubit you will do Hedema and control on second qubit R2, control on third qubit R3, dot, 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 to control on nth qubit Rn, and that will give you this state. And then you do this 1 qubit by 1 qubit until end, where you have those two things, give you this state, and that thing give you this state, and then you will reverse the order at the end, so the order match up. Okay, we'll give a bit more formal proof of this, but for now let's see this in a smaller example. Maybe it will be easier. So let's say we only have 3 qubits, and then bigger n equal to 8, and we want to do Fourier transform of 8 element on this J1, J2, J3 state, so from 0 to 7. And what we proved is that the transform result will be also a product state, and it will be 1 versus. So we spread those 1 versus square 8 to 3 1 versus square root 2. And so the first qubit should be 1 versus square root 2, 0 plus e to 2 pi, as we say, it should be J3. And then the second qubit will have this J2 dot J3. And the third qubit should be the J1 dot 0 dot J1 J2 J3. Okay, and all of them are this 0 plus 1 structure. And the circuit will look like this. And yeah, and so the first qubit, you will do this headma, and this headma will be responsible for adding this 0.J1 here. Then this R2 will add this J2 here, and R3 will add this J3 here. Okay, so headma is actually doing more. So let's see here. So headma actually turn you into something like 1 versus square root 2, 0 plus 1, right? So headma first turn into this 0 plus 1, but also give you this 0.J2. Because remember headma J, so headma 0 equal to plus, and headma 1 equal to minus, right? So, well, you know, both plus and minus should be something like 1 versus square root 2, 0 plus 1, but you might have a minus 1 phase here. And you have a minus 1 here, phase here, when your input is 1, and that's when J equal to 1. So you just say this minus 1 to a J, it will correspond to this thing, right? And minus 1 to a J, if you want to write in a complex exponential, that's e to a 2 pi 0.J. Okay? Yeah. So headma turn you into this. So headma on J1 turns the state into this 1 versus square root 2, 0, and e to a 2 pi 0.J1. 1. Then our then this R2 rotation will look up J2 and add a J2 here, and R3 rotation will look up this J3 here. So the first qubit will get turned into this thing down here. Then the second qubit, the same thing, is actually easier. So the headma turn into this 1 versus square root 2, 0 plus 1, and 0.J2, right, because it's J2. And this R2 will add this 0.003 here. And finally, so second qubit will go here, and finally the third qubit will just do this thing. Is exactly what we say here, is J becomes J3. So headma turn it into what it should be. And then we need to change the order, because the order is J1, J2, J3 here, and the ordering is like this. So you want to swap the order of these 3 qubits, so you just do a swap get and so you have 3 to 1 become 1 to 3. Okay. Okay? Because this qubit should actually be on top. Okay? So question on this example? If not, then we can go over the actually not too enlightening, but okay, I guess let's still go over this more general case. So you can see you can generalize this 3-bit example to 1-bit example, and let's do this kind of proof once again. So then we show that this more general circuit also works for n-bit, and is exactly what we say, exactly like what we do on the 3-qubit. So what happens if you have the J1, J2 to J, then first you do a headma on first qubit, and as we said, that should turn this qubit into 1 versus square root 2 and 0 plus 1, and you have this e to a 2 pi 0.J1. It's exactly like what our calculation here. is hidden. Okay. And the other qubits are still J2 tensor to Jn. And then we apply control R2 to the first qubit. So the R2 will look up this J2. And remember R2 equal to 1, 0, 0 e to the 2 pi I divided by 2 to the 2, right? And this is E1, 1, 0, 0, 0. And this is, if we write this 1/4 in binary, then that's e to the 2 pi I times 0.01, right? 1.4. So 1/4 in binary is 0.01. And that's how you get this 0.01 times J2 equal to 0.0 J2. Okay. So yeah, that's what happened. And yeah, so we don't have too much more. It's bad. This is not too enlightening, but then you see that. So when you do control J2, you do this, and the control J3 will give you this 0.00 J3 because it's exactly the same logic. And so all the control on the first qubit end up with it. And if we look up this circuit, then you see you control on control all the way to nth qubit. So then then you will have this 0.J1, J2 all the way to Jn factor on your 1. Okay. And then on the second qubit is a similar thing. First you do the hedema, it will give you this 0.0 J2. Right. Yeah. So sorry, 0.J2. So on the second qubit, the hedema turn you into this 0 plus 1 and another factor of 1 with square root 2 and 0.J2. And all the control will add J3, J4 all the way to Jn like here. And we keep doing this one by one, and your state will become this 0 plus 1 with 0.J1 to Jn, and second qubit becomes 0 plus 1 and J2 to Jn, and this qubit is 0.Jn. And as we said, this ordering is just the reverse of what we want. So we reverse the order, and it will become this exactly what we show that the Fourier transform should give you. Okay. Any question? We are a little two-faced. Okay. Yeah. So this is our circuit for doing quantum Fourier transform. Let's look at this one again. It's quite annoying. Maybe this is easier. So this kind of circuit is what we want to do for quantum Fourier transform. Then we say it's efficient, so let's count how many gates we are using. And that's very easy, right? So the number of gates is well, how many hedema and control rotation we do is like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus all the way to n, right? And that's order n squared, small n. And then you need to do a swap at the end, and that's like order n swap. So the total number of gates we use is order small n squared. And if you want to write in big N, remember big N equal to 2 to n, and that's order log square n. Okay. And how efficient is this? So let's try to compare this to classical Fourier transform. And so what do we want to get? We want to have some starting vector. So some starting vector v, and we want to compute what happens you apply the Fourier transform it. So we want to compute, if you want to compute all the components of this vector, then it it can be shown that if you want to calculate this, you need theta big N log N number of operations, so number of multiplication and addition. That's what you do. And the classical algorithm that can achieve this bound is called phase Fourier transform. And it's a little related to how we do this quantum Fourier transform, but it's not very obvious, so let's skip that. And also, if you just do this in a very stupid way, so if you just do using the Fourier transform if n is a n by n matrix and you multiply n by n matrix with n-dimensional vector, then you need to do order n squared matrix multiplication, because each component you need to do this n, and there are n component, n-dimensional inner product, and there are n component. So you need order n squared if you are really naive, but as what we did, as what we know, so this Fourier transform matrix actually have lots of structures, so you can do something recursive. That's how you end up with this order n log n algorithm for this Fourier transform. But you can also see this is pretty optimal against the trivial bound because the output is an n-dimensional vector. And so if you want to calculate all the components, then just write down the answer. Need omega, and there are n entries, so you need to omega n time to just write down the answer. Okay, so classical Fourier transform is things much slower. You do quantum Fourier transform. Once again, you only need order log square n, but classical Fourier transform you need omega n log n. Okay. So now you think, does this mean quantum Fourier transform give you an exponential speed up versus classical Fourier transform? Well, it's tricky, right? Yes and no. So as we said, for classical Fourier transform, just for you writing down the answer, you need omega n time. So how does this quantum Fourier transform be so fast? That's because the quantum Fourier transform has a different input-output data structure. So the input and output of quantum Fourier transform is quantum vector. And there is no easy way to turn a quantum vector into a classical vector, right? So this is a quantum ket here, the ket psi, and so even if you ignore the normalization of this vector, you want to turn the quantum state into a classical vector of equivalent coefficients. It's not very clear how you go back and forth with this, and it's really pretty hard. You can prove that you have some copy of this vector and you want to learn all its components, you need a lot of time. So yeah, so quantum Fourier transform don't actually give you a very fast way to do classical Fourier transform, but it can be done very fast. If you only care about input and output as a quantum state, then quantum Fourier transform is still very cool, and it can be done very efficiently using this only order log square n time. And also, I guess something to note is that this is the first quantum algorithm we talk about as not a query algorithm. So this is just, so there is no oracle in this algorithm, right? You just take input and you calculate output. So that's something interesting. Okay. So the subtle point here is quantum Fourier transform don't let you do classical Fourier transform very fast, but it does do something very fast, and we'll see today that you can use it to do phase estimation, which is a very quantum thing. And then next week we are going to see the other phase estimation allow us to do factoring very fast. Okay. And that's actually something that classical algorithm cannot do, or we don't know how to do. Okay. Question on this efficient implementation of quantum Fourier transform. Let's look at it once again. Something like this, but make it bigger. So this is Hedema, rotation, rotation, Hedema, rotation, rotation, Hedema, and swap at the end. Okay, and we'll probably. Okay, you guys probably want to end the class earlier, right? So we'll probably end the class earlier, but we still have 15 minutes until break. So let's keep going. So let's go to phase estimation. Yeah. So yeah, this is the first application of quantum Fourier transform, and well, it has quantum input-output state. So we'll do something very quantum. So phase estimation is also the first task that don't quite have classical input-output. I guess it still have classical output, but it has a really quantum input. Okay. So the question has two quantum input. So the input is the unitary matrix and its eigenstate. Okay. So this U you can think as maybe some black box or not black box quantum circuit, and you want to learn its eigenvalue. So we write down the eigenvalue equation here. So U is the eigenvector of U, and because U is unitary, then its eigenvalue is going to be in this phase formation, right? So it's going to be some phase e to a 2 by phi. And so want to learn this, we are basically learning this, right? So this is the only variable because everything else is a mathematical constant, right? So we want to learn this phi if we are given U. This U unitary, and also we're also nice, so we're also given this U eigenvector. So given this U some kind of black box thing, and then the question is how to calculate this phi here. Want to learn this phase phi here, so it's called phase estimation. Okay. And I don't know how you feel, how nature this is, but because this is a very common thing to do, but it turns out this is a very useful component when you do all sorts of quantum algorithm design. As you will see, very good example is you can use this to do Schwarz algorithm. But for now, let's see how we can actually do this using quantum Fourier transform. Okay. And before that, let's say some caveats. And so we say that we are given this U, but what we actually need is control U. So we are going to get a whole bunch of control U black box. And if we want to do this very efficiently, we actually need to get more than control U. We need to get control U to some power 2 to a j. And so you will say that you can do the control U 2 to a j by just doing 2 to a j control U, but that's too inefficient for us. So later we'll see that we need to assume this is very efficient. But anyway, I guess for now, remember we need control U. Okay. And control U is going to be, or control U 2 to a j is going to be something like this. So there is a control bit, it will be 0, 1, and then you apply U to a 2 to a j time on some number of bits. So we didn't say U is 1 bit or not, U can be many bits. So this U unitary can be many bit, and this U small U eigenvector can be many bit. Sorry, many qubit. And anyway, so this is a phase estimation task. You are given those control U black box and one copy of some eigenvector U, and they want to calculate the phase e to a 2 pi I phi, or just know this phi. Yeah. So how we do this? The idea is doing phase kickback. Now this is something we have heard of, right? And yeah. So phase kickback. And let's see this in a very easy example. So your phi, if we promise you that phi is something very easy. So the easiest example is the phi is the simplest one is 0, and the furthest thing from 0 is 1/2, because everything is mod 1. Then, okay. So if your phi is 0 or 1/2, or if you return in binary, it's 0.0 or 0.1. And then you apply U on small u is either give you simu, give you small u back, or give you a minus small u. Right? And okay. And so you can do phase kickback. It's very similar to the phase kickback thing we do. Although, so in the phase kickback before, we say like a second register will give you a minus data. But now we put this eigenvector small u here, and we control. Then we put our control u here, and the first qubit is still the plus state, like what we did in phase kickback. I guess it's a little different, but anyway, we have the plus state here. Yeah. So let's see how the phase kickback works. Right, so you have input plus and u, and you go through the control u. What will happen? And so you analyze this by separating this plus into 0 plus 1. Right? It's just writing all this plus state. So there is a 0 component and a 1 component, and the amplitude is 1 over square root 2. And then you do control U. What will happen? Well, control U, when the control bit is 0, now the control U is linear, right? So you apply on those two separately. And you apply on this 0 U part, then the control bit is 0, then nothing happens. So it's still 0 U. And when control part is 1, then you should apply U on U. Alright. And well, U on U, well, this small u is a eigenvector of U, so that should just give you eigenvalue, which is this phase e to a 2 pi I phi. Right? And then now this is a kickback step, right? So just like what we do in George-Joseph algorithm, you look at this 1 times e to a 1 times phase times u, and but you can append this phase to, because it's a tensor product, you can multiply it on anything. So you can also think this is multiplying your 1, and then you see your second register is just staying this u, right? Because the phase you kick it back to this 1. This is just a mathematical thing. And anyway, so you found out that second register stay u, and your first register, your this plus state get a extra phase on this 1. Okay, this phase kickback. And this extra phase is equal to 2 pi I phi. And now you look at, well, what's our phase equal to 2 pi I phi? There are, so this phase has two different situations. So it's either no phase, correspond to this 0, and minus 1 phase, correspond to this phi equal to 1/2. Okay. So if there is no phase, then you find out that you are still having a plus state, phi equals 0. And if you are in this phi equals 1/2, you get -1, so this is a minus state. Right? And we know plus state and minus state are orthogonal, and we can distinguish them. And this is exactly how you distinguish them. So you do a measurement in plus minus basis. So basically you do a hidden mark to turn plus minus into 0 and 1, and you do a measurement. Yeah. So we see that this is how you do phase estimation when you know your phase is just 0.0 or 0.1 in binary. Or okay. And so something. And just have to say, we need to give a copy of U, just because. And this only works when psi equal to 0.J1, right? And this kind of makes sense, right? Because our phi here only have 1 bit of information, so only need to measure 1 bit. It will give you 1 bit of information. And now I think if you have what happens if your psi has more bit, then you probably need to have more bit up here and do more measurement. And that's exactly what happened. So when your psi equal to 0.J1, J2 to Jt, then this is the algorithm we do. Yes. Yeah. So you have t bit here and you have tq bit here. So it will be Hedema to turn it into superposition, and you have all those control. And we didn't write it all the way. And then this Hedema here will be replaced with actually we need the extra inverse Fourier transform here. But let's see, 3 minutes. We can actually. Oh, we have way too much time. Okay, let's finish. Okay, let's finish this. So I guess so this thing will actually turn into this. This is easier to see. So what we do is, so we want t bits of, so once again our psi equal to 0.J1, J2, to Jt. So we have t bits of information inside, and what we do is we have tq bit up here, and first thing we do is we do Hedema to t here. So, and hopefully you still remember, if you have t bit and you apply Hedema all of them, then that turn those t bit into an equal superposition of all computational basis state. Okay. So this will be summation. We are now in decimal, k from 0 to -1. Where 0 to 2 to the t minus 1. And then you apply this u to j's power on your eigenvector small u. Okay. And so important thing is what happened here. Right? So the first qubit is summation kk, and the second qubit is u. And what happens is then you will get phase kickback on every of those k, because so you apply u once here. Okay, I should say, okay, this is a little unclear, right? Unclear, right? Okay, this is a little confusing. So this is actually u to the k here. Okay. So whatever k here, then I apply u to the k here. And you apply u once, then you get e to the 2 pi phi, right? So if you apply u k times here, control on what's the k here, then you get e to the 2 pi phi k. Okay. And yeah, sorry. So that's how you get this e to the 2 pi phi k. And this extra 2 to the t over 2 is just a thing I forgot to write here. And because everything phase kickback, so the secondary term still stays tensor u. And we'll see next class that do QFT -1, you get back what you want. Okay. So let's have a break here, and let's continue next class, and we'll probably finish very early today because I don't want to go into the very, very annoying part today.
好像没放完贴上。
我还没放吗？好，那我先放上去。先关掉好了。 Okay, let's get back. So small recap. So this class we show that we can have this efficient construction of quantum Fourier transform by doing this Hedema control rotation, Hedema control rotation, Hedema thing. This give you order small n square gates construction. This require order small n square gates to do quantum Fourier transform, and it's much faster compared to classical Fourier transform, but it actually do quantum Fourier transform instead of classical Fourier transform. So it's a bit of incomparable, but still it's very useful. And the first useful application of this quantum Fourier transform is doing quantum phase estimation. So this is a very quantum task where you are given some circuit U, and one copy of its eigenvector small u, and you want to learn the phase of this unitary u. So basically learning is it has an eigenvector, it has an eigenvalue e to the 2 by I phi, and you want to learn its phase phi. And the idea we use is phase kickback. So in this very simple example where this phi is you say 1 digit, or by it's in binary 1 bit. If this phi is 1 bit fraction, either 0.1 or 0.0, then we can have this very easy phase kickback circuit. So you have plus state on the control qubit, then you apply this control u on your eigenvector u, then you will kick back a phase which is either 0 or minus 1, and 0 or minus 1 will turn your plus state into a plus state or minus state. And then you do a Hedema, and then you do measurement, then you can learn whether your eigenvalue is 0 or you can learn whether this phase is 0 or 1 over 2 in decimal. Yeah. And then we skip a little bit. So we see that the above circuit can be generalized to the situation where your phi has t bits. So it's 0.J1, J2 to Jt. And so we had plus state before, and we replaced that with this 0. So TB0, and we hit it with Hedema to TB, and that will be a uniform superposition of all the computational basis state here. Decimal, so going this binary and decimal, so hopefully it's clear. And then we do this very big phase kickback here. So we control, so here this is okay, so I guess here this is actually a little ambiguous here. So here what we are doing is we are doing a different kind of control here. Right? Before, when we say control, we have we only always control on 1 bit. So I guess I should probably write this as the control slash. Right? So this is something we never talked about before. So before we have a control, then we control on 1 bit. And if that 1 qubit is 0, then we do nothing. And if that 1 bit is 1, then we apply the unitary. But now we have a T-bit control. And what we mean by the T-bit control is that, so we look up this whole T-bit. So it's a TP string, and we think it as 0 to 2 to the t number, right? So look at the configuration basis. So if this thing is k here, then we apply this unitary k times. Okay. So we're having a TP control here, and basically we look up the computational basis state here, and if it's k here, then we apply this unitary k times. And then we have this giant phase kickback, and we think about what happened on computational basis. And so if we apply u once here, then once here, then then just as the previous 1-bit example, you apply u once, then you get one of these e to a 2 by 5 factor, right? And so u, just write this, u on small u equal to e to a 2 by 5 small u, just the eigenvalue equation by small u here. So if you apply u k times here, then this is by simple linear algebra, then it's just give you k over those factor here, right? Because you keep getting back this small u, you're just accumulating this factor. And then also basic arithmetic, then you can multiply this k on here. So what happens is you apply this u k times on this small u, then you accumulate the phase of this phase here is e to a 2 by 5k. And so if you have input state as k tensor u, and you apply this t order control with u to the k, the TP control u to the k, then you should get this e to a 2 by 5k. Then you do linearity, you are actually summing over OK, and with some amplitude to do a t over 2. Okay. So this is a state that you get after you apply this TP control u. Okay. And now is what happened when we do Fourier transform. So what we had before, when it's only 1 bit, is you had a headma here. So that headma is actually quantum Fourier transform of 1 bit, and we'll replace that headma with the inverse quantum Fourier transform of t bit. And why can we do that? Because now you go back to the phase kickback logic, and now you see this u is just tensor with actually everything else, because all the summation is just on k. So you see the state is actually this thing and the tensor u. And this thing, you look carefully, you see that is very much like what you get from Fourier transform. So remember, with Fourier transform on computational basis state j, then it should become this state, right? This is what we had at the start of the class. So you have a computational basis state and a quantum Fourier transform. Then it's a summation of all computational basis state k. And you have this 1 over square root n and e to a 2 by ijk divided by n. And you compare this thing and this thing, you find out they are actually the same thing. So you just have a big N is actually 2 to the t. Okay? Big N is 2 to the t, and you compare this and this, you see everything fit. Then you have a phi here, and you have a j over n here. So phi is actually just j over n. Okay? So you see this is basically a state that's Fourier transform of a computational basis. Right? So your Fourier transforms on psi some j that, okay, so psi equal to j divided by n, so it actually means j equal to psi times n. So if you Fourier transform some j, and then you will get this thing. Now but we know Fourier transform has an inverse. So if you apply inverse Fourier transform on this, then you will get back j, which is equal to psi times n, and n is 2 to the t. Okay. So if you get q of t minus 1, then this part will become psi times 2 to the t. Okay? We do this. Or you can do brute force calculation with all the cancellation. I forgot to do review. Remember, so when you do all those Fourier transform thing, an important identity is this. So when you sum over e to the 2 pi jk over n, sum over j, and this will be 0 when k not equal to 0 because of the circle cancellation. But anyway, so you can brute force calculation to see that you apply this QFT minus 1, it gives you this psi times 2 to the t if psi is 0.j12jt. And well, yeah, then you know what's t, so you just divide by 2 to the t, then you will get psi. Okay. So that's how phase estimation work with quantum Fourier transform, or more like reverse quantum Fourier transform. But reverse quantum Fourier transform is very similar to quantum Fourier transform, right? Because as you were doing homework, it's just a complex conjugate of quantum Fourier transform. And how this work? And yeah, so we show that at this step you get the Fourier transform to stay here. So if you do reverse Fourier transform, you'll get the same thing, but you can also brute force with the reverse Fourier transform with its matrix element 1 over square root n summation, 1 over square root n and e to the 2 pi I and jk minus 2 pi I jk over n. And so you can also use this matrix and multiply on that and get a whole bunch of cancellation and get this result. Anyway, this is the let's erase a bit more. That's the phase estimation circuit using quantum Fourier transform. Any question so far? Otherwise, we'll say this in a bit more detail. Okay, and so this is an easier representation of this of the phase estimation. But so if you want to speed up this t bit, tq bit, then you will look at this. Okay. Now all those control are actually the control we know. Okay? So if you want to bitwise control, then you should look like this. So you so now we need to do the decimal to binary correspondence once again. And you break up this t bit, and now this weird t bit control can be implemented in this way. So now you look up this, you think those t bits are the digit to k, right? So they together should give you like a k here. And this is the last bit of k, so you control on the, let's say k equal to like k1, k2, k with this k1, k2, this is kn, right? K equal to k1, k2, kn. So it's kn minus 1, kn minus 2. And so this is the last bit of kn of k. And so when you control on k, you want to apply u to a k, right? So the last digit is just you apply this u once if kn equal to 1, and you don't apply u if kn equal to 0. Okay. And similarly, this is kn minus 1, then you control it and you apply u twice, and then is kn minus 2, you apply u to a 2 to a 2. So this is just because all those k1 to kn you are writing k in binary. Once again, this is k1 times 2 to the minus 1 plus 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 like k4 times k minus 2 plus 2 times k minus 1 plus 1 times kn, right? So you want to apply u k times, then you just apply it 1 times kn times, and 2 times k minus 1 times, and 4 times k minus 2 times, all the way to 2 to the minus 1 times k 1 times. Okay, and this is kind of why we say we want to apply those control u to some power j. Okay. And so yeah, so this should work. So if you compare to this, then we are up to this step, and after that you just need to do inverse quantum Fourier transform and do a measurement, and that should give you 2 to the t times 5. But we can also do another analysis just to prove it once again. So we do a bitwise analysis to prove this work once again. So let's do this slowly because we have time. So so if we do this bit by sync this bit by bit, and what we will get here. So okay, we skip a lot of steps here. So at this point, you will have whole bunch of 1 over square root 2 times 0 plus 1, right? So you will have this 1 over 2 to the t over 2, and 0 plus 1, 0 plus 1, 0 plus 1. Then let's look at the phase keepback. And all the phase keepback are on different bits. So we can just look at them. So on the last bit, we will have this, well, 2 pi to the 5 phase keepback as expected. Because the last bit is 1, then you apply this u on u, and you will get this e to a 2 pi 5. and etc. And so I should say the second last bit. So the second last bit, you apply u twice. So you should have this 0 plus e to the 2 pi I 5 times 2, 1, right? And then you have 5 times 4, 5 times 8, all the way to 5 times 2 to the t minus 2, and 5 times 2 to the t minus 1. Okay. So this is a bit by bit structure. Once again, this is the first bit here, and this is what you get on the second bit here. We didn't have a second bit, so second bit here. Okay. Etc. And this is the first bit here. And now we write this down, and we find out we actually already done something similar as expected. So what happened? So your psi equal to 0.j1 to jt. This is just what we say psi is. And but what do you have 2 times psi? And we already see that will shift this period to right 1 bit, right? So we will get j1 dot j2 j3 dot jn. But but this j1 then become integer. You get e to the 2 pi I j1 dot j2 dot. But this j1 now is the integer part and it's ignored by this 2 pi I. So this disappears. So that's actually e to the 2 pi I 0.j2 to jt. And so similarly, when you apply more and more tool, then you are eliminating those j's one by one until at the end you get 0.jt minus 1 jt and 0.jt. Okay, and just as we see this before, this is what we get in our quantum Fourier transform, right? Let's see once again. The quantum Fourier transform also have this structure, except that we have small n here and we have small t down there. This is 0.jn, 0.jn minus 1jn, all the way to 0.j1 to jn. So if we do this bit by bit analysis, we also see that the state we get down here is the quantum Fourier transform of some computational basis. And yeah, so if you calculate what number this is quantum Fourier transforming, is 2 to the n times phi. Because remember we define quantum Fourier transform on an integer, and phi is a fraction. But if you have 2 to the n, wait, did I get this correct? Yeah, so I actually get this wrong. So it's actually 2 to the t, not 2 to the n. So it's 2 to the t phi. Sorry. Yeah. And so if we have a 2 to the t here, then 2 to the t phi, then that's equal to j1, j2, jt. We are just shifting this 0 point. Okay, this is ugly. j1, j2 to jt. Okay. So if we know 2 to the t phi, then we know phi. We are just shifting a period. And anyway, so this is a Fourier transform of 2 to the t phi. And so if we apply an inverse quantum Fourier transform, then we will learn 2 to the t phi and we will learn phi. So, any question about this phase estimation? If not, then we will talk about some other things then. Finish the class early today. Okay. So some other thing, and so what do we want to? You'll see this, well, at least for me, this is a bit more ugly than this representation. This looks more clean. So I want to talk about this because this is how we use it in short algorithm. And one thing about this is that, well, you write this way mostly because you want to see how you implement this U to the K thing, right? And well, you can implement it this way, but never see that you need to apply this U many times, right? and this is not too efficient. If you do this by just doing many control U, then when you need t-bits precision on your phi, then you need to do your U 2 to the t times, right? Because you are applying U to almost 2 to the t, and that will actually be too inefficient, too much time needed for doing short algorithm for factoring. So what will happen is we will actually have an efficient way to do all those u to the some power of 2. Okay. Just for short algorithm. So that's very lucky. And that explains a little bit of what we want to write in this form, because we find out that we can implement this u to the k in this form very faster than we expected, because we don't need to do u to t times u to 2 to the t. And I guess I'll talk about this first. And another thing you probably want to ask first is that so we say our psi equal to 0.j1, j2, just jt. But what if psi is not in this form? Right? This is quite restricted. You need to be like, how should I say? You need to be like almost like an integer in a binary. But what if your phi is, say, an irrational number? Then you can never write your psi in. You can never write your psi in this binary bits representation with a fixed number of t. Then, so there is an accuracy issue. So we want to ask that if your psi is actually not like this, but something close to this form with some error, then what's the accuracy when you run phase estimation? Or how you deal with that? And the answer is you can still run this circuit. And yeah, so you can still run this circuit, but you will just lose some bit of accuracy to errors. So the quick nature answer is that you will need to, if you run the if you want your answer to have an Ether epsilon, then you will need to use the number of bit t equal to n, which is the number of bits of precision you want, and plus log 1 over epsilon. Okay, so that's kind of the answer. So if you want the n bit precision, then you need to add the extra log 1 over epsilon bit in your phase estimation, and we'll do the detailed analysis next Monday to show that this is enough to give you a bit result. Okay. So that's that. And I guess another thing we can talk about here is one weird homework. Okay, so now this is a little story time. So homework is Kitayev's phase estimation. I'm not sure, is it probably this week? Okay. Okay, so so there are two people around this. So there is Peter Shaw for Shor's algorithm, and there is Alex Kitaev, who was in Russia during the time of the story. So we know Peter Shaw so Peter Shaw invented Shor's algorithm, and using this quantum Fourier transform, and well, this is a little complicated. And so Peter Shaw used quantum Fourier transform to invent Shor's algorithm. And Kitaev being trapped in Russia during that time, and it's in 1995, right? And so Russia don't have much of internet during that time. So Kitaev Schwartz invented this quantum algorithm for factoring, and but Kitaev cannot get a copy of Schwartz's paper. So what he did is he write up his own quantum factoring algorithm, and Kitaev realized that if you want to do a quantum factoring algorithm, then you need to do phase estimation. So phase estimation is actually invented by Kitaev without knowing how to do quantum Fourier transform and stuff. Okay, so how do your homework come up here? So, okay, so Kitaev is pretty cool. He come up with his own factoring algorithm without seeing how Peter should do it. And he do it with phase estimation, but he doesn't know QFT, so he actually doesn't do the phase estimation in this way. Okay. So in your homework, you are going to be asked to do phase estimation in Kitaev's way, which is pretty complicated. And to give you some idea, so Kitaev's way to do phase estimation is kind of like this. So back to our this 1-bit example. Right, so when our phi just equal to 0.j1, then you see you can do just this 1-bit controlled unitary and get your 1-bit j1, right? And now if we just, I think this is a natural way to generalize it, but turns out this is a lot more complicated than doing Fourier transform. So now you're seeing if your psi has 2 bits, 0.j1, j2, right? And if you don't do the many bit control, now maybe you can do this, right? So you have plus state and control with u squared, and you have u here like this. So what will happen? U squared is another unitary, and it has psi tilde equal to 0.j2, right? Because u squared its eigenvalue is just the eigenvalue. The eigenvalue of a squared is the eigenvalue of u times 2, right? Sorry, u squared. How should I say? The face of u squared is just the face of u times 2. So you shift this 1 bit and this j1 disappear. So if you do u squared here, and then you do the Hadamard major, then you will get j2 out here, right? So, and then you get back and you do this psi, this plus psi using, then and you already know j2. So let's say you are very lucky and you know j2. So j2 is 1 bit, j2 can be 0 or 1, right? 0 or 1. j2 0 or 1. And if j2 is 0, then you know psi is just 0.j1. Then you can go back doing this thing and just learn j1, and you learn psi. But if j2 is not 0, then then you need to do something and do some correction and interesting thing here. And but then you can, knowing j2, then you do this j circuit, and then you can learn 0.j1, j2, and etc. And now if there are more bits, then unless it gets more and more complicated, but but at a very high level, you can kind of do this exponentiate of u to very high power, then resolve your psi from the back to front, 1 bit by 1 bit, and always just have a 1 bit control here and do the phase estimation. So that's how Kitaev do phase estimation, and I believe you will have a homework of trying to analyze it for 3-bit. Okay. So that's the story about Kitav's phase estimation. That's how he came up with it. He know he need to do it to get the factoring algorithm, and he did it with the quantum Fourier transform, and it's more complicated analysis. And I think this phase estimation with quantum Fourier transform is neither Peter Shor's way or Alex Kitav's way of doing factoring algorithm. This is after people know all the stuff, then people come with this more nice way to explain everything. That's, you can use quantum Fourier transform to do phase estimation. Okay. So that's the end of the story, and here's another homework. And finally, let's skip all the accuracy stuff for next Monday. But we can talk about this. Yeah, we can talk about this. Another thing about phase estimation. That is, we keep saying that we are given one copy of the eigenstate U when we do phase estimation. But actually, we don't need it that much in some sense. That is, remember the quantum algorithm all have linearity. So if we don't have a fixed eigenstate U here, and then we can kind of pick a random state. So if we instead of using U on the phase kickback register, we get some random whatever side, and that whatever side will be some linear combination of different eigenvectors, right? And then we know the phase estimation algorithm. It should, when you have a 0 on the first register, where the 0 is t-bit and U is many bit, and it should give you the phase on the first bit, right? We are ignoring the 2 to the t here. Okay. And so by linearity, then if you have this 0 and the psi and you run phase estimation, then you can decompose this psi into different eigenstates, and the first register should record all the different phases of different eigenstate U. Right? Okay, this is just by linearity. Because if the U is eigenstate, then it should be whatever psi U here. Okay, I should use right. So psi U here. And by linearity, if you have this summation different U on the second register, then it's just summation U, then this integral state psi U. And now if you get this state as output, then you measure this first register, then you will just get the random psi U, and with probability is U squared. Okay. So that's how you can use phase estimation even if you don't actually get the eigenstate U. And I believe this is what will happen when we do Shor's algorithm. Okay? Any question? Otherwise, we will have we'll stop the class 10 minutes early today. Okay. That's stop. See you next Monday.